All right, and I'm going to share screen. All right, so we're going for a Kanban view today, which we don't always do. But I'll start off with introducing the meeting and the project management issue on the board. So this is the Archives Workgroup meeting for the 4th of September 2024. The SingularityNET-Archive contains a history of the activities of SingularityNET's Ambassador Programme. All content is provided under an open source Apache 2 license, and contributions will be licensed under a Creative Commons license. Um, that I think is a link to the YouTube um, recordings of these meetings. And our goal in this work group is to provide a collaborative platform for the SingularityNet Archive community to share knowledge, ideas, and best practices. We welcome contributions from anyone interested in SingularityNet, whether it's a new project, a code example, or documentation. Our process, we add any new action or decision items that arise from issues, and the assignee for any issue will update it and speak to the work and update the issue itself with any comments. And we also usually run through action items and decisions from the previous meeting. So there's a link there to the previous meeting, but it's wrong, isn't it? Because that's June and our last meeting was July. So we need to update
Yeah.
that. But you can see in the meeting issue links to the project board, the actual original archival workgroup proposal, and the archive skipbook. So I will alter this later and just kind of photo G is here. But actually, it's probably easier to do this from the Econy is here, Clement is here, and Gorga's here, and Jen's not here. Right, welcome to those who've just hopped in, including Essie and Gorga. And I'm just going to read out who is actually here for the recording. There's me, Vanny. There's Andre, Essay, Clement, Ekamini, Gorga, and Photogy. And welcome to everybody. What I'm going to do now is just hop to the meeting summary tool, and I just want to update on action items and decisions. So I have updated the meeting issue here to the correct one, and I need to add who is actually here, which I'll do as we're running through the rest of the meeting. Decisions that hang over from last time. Um, there is an issue and sort of ongoing issue with governance work group summaries. They've been a little bit muddled, and we had an idea that essay you were going to kind of update it all, and it's that updating would be funded by governance work group. And I don't know if you want to speak to it, essay, but it's kind of proved more work than we thought it would be. So you're thinking about handing some of the backlog over to others, is that right? Oh, I don't know. Maybe you can't speak where you are. Oh, she probably can't come off mute. So, yeah. So from what I have seen, and we had a bit of a conversation about it, some of the draft summaries are from Read AI and they're really not good. So they need quite a lot of work to tidy them up. And obviously it's difficult if it's then quite a long way in the past. So I think actually, Onise has said that she's up for doing some as well. So we just need to take this now to governance work group and do it through there because there is funding for it, so we can tidy it up from there. But I think the reason we're mentioning it in archives work group is that when we come to look at the kind of outstanding meeting summaries, an awful lot of them are governance work group. So that's kind of, oh, right. No, we couldn't hear you, Essa. No. Do you want to try again?
Yeah, my mic is mute. My mic is unmuted. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, loud and
Yes.
clear. Yes.
Okay, so sorry, I had to rush out. Yeah, you're right. She already made mention of my concerns because after like having to try out once, I saw that it was a bit of work and I said that it would be best for me to have someone that we can work on it together so as to facilitate and speed up uh stuff. So if I'm working with Onise, then I can have a chat with her and we can see how we can divide the ones that needs to be
Super.
worked on. That's the one from the VDI, right? Because the other ones that were done manually, those one has no problem. I think the only one that needs to be worked on is
Yes.
for the VDI, which is about I think it's about 4 or 5, and I've done one,
Something
so
like
I
that.
think what's left is about 4 or 5 thereabout. So
Nice.
for us to
All
split
right.
it.
So if you have a chat with Anise, I kind of mentioned it to her today, and she kind of said she was interested, and because she did one for Ah, yes, because there is also the open governance ones, and I think there may be people who have done some documenting of those and are not very au fait with how to add it to the tool. So for speed, I think we might just do it and then kind of show them how at a later stage because we just need to clear the backlog. So yeah. Um yeah, so what will if you talk to Annie say and then I don't know, do you have access to the D work board for Governance Guild or do I need to update the task?
Yeah, I don't have access to updating tasks on the governance board the work. But if I'm
All
given
right,
access, then I can update it.
nice. That'd be brilliant. All right. The other decision that is kind of hanging over was the summary tool redesign. We had planned, and this is what we documented in the last meeting, to collect community input with brief, targeted one-to-one chats with those who use the tool most. But we've since decided instead to use kind of anecdotal information that we've got from talking to people who use the tool and the info from the tool's own issues log. And this is just because due to that big drop in token price, which is recovered to a certain extent now, but we just couldn't afford even the $100 that was budgeted for these one-to-one chats. So we've just had to kind of do without it, really. And we actually do have quite a lot of information. And Essay has really kindly done a little bit of the stuff that she was going to do. Um, when we get to the budget, maybe we should look as if we can compensate you a little bit for that. The other one is the summary tool redesign itself rather than the kind of research for it. The issue is there, and we'll be talking about it briefly. And I don't think there is an actual new decision. Um, Action items. Video walkthrough of how to use the GitHub board. That was originally with Duke, got reassigned to IO, and we'll get to it on the board, but I have a feeling it's just not going to be done. I think maybe it's not a massive priority and it's been on the board for a while. Um, IO, you're not here, are you? No, he's not. I mean, I can DM him and find out. The town hall presentation on Ubio's work, that was done and it was done very well. So we'll tick that off when we get to it on the board. And then Stephen was to decide how best to present all the open source paradigm stuff. And it was to be decided in September. But unfortunately, Stephen's been unable to make this meeting. So I think we'll have to put it until the next meeting. All right, well, that's the lot about decisions and action items. I can hear a bit of an echo. Can anyone else hear it? Hmm, okay. Now I'm imagining it. All right, so let's go without further
Wait,
ado to.
it's from my end. Sorry,
Oh, it's
I
all right, don't
just
worry. No worries. All right, so what we're going to do today, because as everybody knows, the deadline for submission of budgets and quarter 3 quarterly reports is on Monday. So we won't have another meeting before they need to go in. So I think probably the bulk of this meeting is going to be looking at that. But we do have a few issues that we can run through before we get to that. And then anything else on the board, I think is pretty much, yeah, it's in progress. There's no particular things we need to raise. So to keep the meeting short, I'm going to focus on the things that are actually with things to be discussed. So without further ado, over to you, Andre, on tool development. Let me just open the issue.
Okay. I did put at the bottom. So what the tool right now, there was a function that you can export the PDF, but it's broken again. So, and Onyeka did propose in the past that we export to Google Doc. So I thought maybe we should give that a try again. And then, so I'm gonna take away the PDF export and just replace it with a button that creates a Google Doc of the summary. And then, so if people look at the summary, they can either create Google Doc of it. And if there is already a Google Doc created of that summary, they can just click on a button that takes them to that Google Doc. And then people can comment on it.
Nice.
Because
That sounds really
that's,
cool.
yeah, that PDF export keeps giving trouble. So I think it's best to replace it. So
That's
that's what I'm gonna
that's
work on this
brilliant.
month. Yep.
And that's probably going to please you, Onyeka, no end, because it's been like
Yeah.
a thorn in your side for quite a long time in terms of enabling people to comment on meeting summaries before they're actually uploaded. There is one thing I just want to ask about the board, Andre. You know, when we've got something with a milestone of September, it seems to take it as the start of September, not the end, because it's telling us that it's past due by
So
3 days.
I
And I've noticed
saw
this for a
that.
while.
Yeah. Let me have a look. I saw that as well, and I thought, what? It might be something to do with the milestone itself, the settings.
Uh,
But
I
I'll have a
think it will
look.
be. Yeah,
Yeah,
we should have a look at that and maybe tidy that up. Not that we
yeah,
paid that much attention to milestones, but yeah, that
yeah.
sounds absolutely fantastic and will be a very positive thing, I think. All
Yeah.
right, now we've got an issue of this GitHub board video walkthrough. The idea was of just giving people a shorter version of a training session that Stephen did a little while ago. Oh, Onyuka, you have a hand up. Go for it.
Sorry, is on what Andrew previously talked about. So, I think my previous conversation with few people that have been documenting, I think, most people think that the documentation is actually meant to be done in a document first rather than the tool. So, and the idea at first was to actually get members to document directly into the tool. Then, those reports could be edited based on comments. But since we're going to use a Google Doc to export it, now members can comment and the documenter can just go back and edit the initial submission in the tool itself. So I think that will really help. That way, we can let people know that the documentation is meant to be done directly to the tool rather than into a document first. Then once it's done into the tool, you can now export the document as a Google Doc where people can comment. And once comments are made, you can now refer back to the tool for corrections. I think because people feel
Yeah.
that it's double work. So
Yeah, this is true. I mean, I think also in terms of the overall redesign of the tool, we're looking increasingly at trying to make it easier for people to do things straight in. And then, as you say, if you can then export it as a doc that people can comment on, then the documenter can really easily make changes. So, yeah, it should. You're right, it should really work. But I guess it's kind of about I guess we'll all be trying it out and kind of working out what the workflow is. And even though we're not probably going to have a lot of, well, any budget for things like training in quarter 4, we can certainly be looking to quarter 5 to do like another round of training and supporting people when the tool redesign is done. So kind of working on that workflow that you described and like how it might work is something that we would be training people on or doing a town hall about or something like that. Anyway, back to this much vaunted GitHub board video work through. It was supposed to be, yeah, a shorter version of the training session that Stephen did right back in March. And it was intended to focus on not just how a GitHub board works or how it can be used for project management, but specifically how we do it and how it kind of integrates with our approach to open source. Um, yeah, Duke was originally assigned to it, and due to pressure of other work, he passed it on to IO. And there was a version from IO that's 22 minutes long, probably a bit too long. And we said that there were a few issues with it. So last I spoke to IO, he was like, "Yeah, I want to have another go," and I haven't heard from him since. So I am thinking, if he still wants to do it. And if not, I mean, it was budgeted for in quarter 2, I believe. Yes, or quarter 1. And there's
March.
$100 for it. So I don't know. What is the position, Andre, financially on that? If IO doesn't want to do it, do we reassign it or do we say, look, it's not a priority. We haven't really got that much money to play with, so we just write it off?
Yeah, we could maybe move that and those funds to something in quarter 3 or 4
Okay.
if it's not necessary.
Okay. I mean, let's see. Let's see what he says.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll take that as an action item. Okie doke. Um, Updates to the Ambassador Git book. Sukra, I'm glad you're here because we never did put in the dates that you were going to do the updates. I don't suppose you have that information to hand, but I think they've been done and we could move this for payment. Oh, is she there?
No. Oh, no, she's
Oh no, she is.
yeah.
Probably, are you not able to come off mute, Sukra?
Yeah, guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I missed the question. What was the question?
I was just asking what we never put a description in here of the dates that you were going to do the updates, but they are done, I think, and we could move it for payment if we just add that. But I was kind of thinking you probably don't have the information to hand of when you did it.
No, I don't have information at hand, but I know that there are some updates I need to do,
Oh, is that
especially especially concerning the onboarding process, that area.
right? Yes, you're right.
Mhm.
Yeah, because
Okay,
there's
so
that's all changed loads, hasn't it? All
yeah,
right. Would you be
so
able
maybe
to?
you could set a date for it to be done before the end of the month.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, if you can remember, I know you did one update already, and if you could add
Mm,
into the issue, I'll just put a link to it in the chat in a minute. If you just add into the issue itself the date that you did that in the description, and then yeah, up until
okay,
the end of the quarter, I mean, just add another update when it's all done, and then we can move it for payment.
all right, I'll do that.
Nice one.
All right,
All
thanks.
right, cool. Um, Right, comms and publicity within the work group. This is your one, Anika, and we've only got one more meeting in the quarter, which is the 18th. So I guess as soon as you've done the kind of round of publicity telling everybody that there is a meeting, we can move that for payment as well at the next meeting.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, cool. And if you can just like do a little update in here at the time of the next meeting, then we'll just know that it's done and you know, it'll remind us to move it for payment.
All
Right,
right,
now,
I will.
cool. Now, the town hall session on Ubio's work, that was done, and I think I updated it at the time. Yes, there we go, on the 6th of August. So this needs to be closed and paid now. So and by the way, congratulations to you both. It was really, I've not actually seen a kind of presentation in a town hall that garnered that many questions before. So, right, so it's 150 and it's split between the two of you. So 75, yeah. So that's just a note for you, Andre, when you come to pay it. And I will give it a unpaid label
Yeah, thank you.
and move it to done. Oh, nice one. Right. Good meeting summaries. Um, I know you've been talking about it, and there was to be a prize awarded at the end of July and in August. And I think you're close to deciding who the July prize is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I
okay, go.
am
Okay, go ahead.
I am a little behind with approving August meeting summaries, so maybe I don't know. Have you got a decision about July?
Okay. For July, we are actually kind of collecting the data, and we're trying to see if there's one pick. So for now, it's not concluded, but I
Okay.
believe by the end of this week it will be out for July. Then, for August, we noticed that some of the summaries from some work groups have not been uploaded to the tool. So it would be unfair to make the decision now. So let's say after a week, then we can now do that.
All right, let me just update. I mean, I'm hoping I will get those meeting summaries in the next couple of days. So do you think you'd be able to make a selection for August in time for the next meeting on the 16th? Or would that be too soon?
Yeah, yeah. We'll hasten up the process.
And is there not supposed to be one for September as well? I'm sure
Yes,
there
yes.
is, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that will come at the end of the month. So that will be the beginning of Q4.
So maybe aim to declare that for, let me see, what will be our next meeting after that? It'll be the 2nd of October. So, um, that will take a little while. It's going to be pending because people don't get their meeting summaries in time, do they? Right, now the AI ethics policy for the archives, we agreed in the last meeting um, that we could only pay the contributing to the doc element of this task in Q3, and we agreed that it would be $25 per person to Colleen, Jen, Martin, and Clement. because they were the people who like commented in the draft doc. Um, so we need to move this for payment, I think, really, don't we?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And the other thing that we talked about is, do we want to create a Q4 issue and start actually thinking about and working on finalizing that policy? Because obviously this stage was just people commenting and ideating and all that. And looking at it, when we get to the budget, I think you'll see that we're probably not going to be able to do that. But maybe we do some of it, or we hold it until quarter one next year. But this just needs to go for payment now. So,
Yep.
um, move it to done and put a unpaid label. Ugh. Hmm. Sorry about this. There we go. Okie doke. Right, so yeah, we probably should have done that sooner, and apologies to Clement and others who are involved with that. Um, what is next? Right. Meeting summary tool redesign Q3. I just wanted to keep people up to obviously Andre, you've got some stuff that you've started working on, and I just wanted to kind of say where we're at. Due to token price instability, again, the budget for this work has needed to be moved to Q4. So a lot of it has been done in Q3, but we kind of need to reflect that in our quarterly report. And Andre and I are going to meet next Monday to go through some of the anecdotal input that we and Essay have collected. Actually, we should credit you there, Essay. And Anika has as well. Okay. And so we'll be working out what the work priorities are. So just so that people know that it's ongoing, and unfortunately it's going to have to be, the payment is going to have to be moved to quarter four. Right. Now, the quarterly report for quarter three. Um, there's a draft here. I'll just put the link in the chat and then go to it and we can have a look. There we go. Right. So I'm not sure what the sharing on this is. I think it's got comment access, so people can. Oh, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Sorry.
got comment.
Has it? All right. Yeah, as you can see, things are quite slow at this end. All right. So yeah, obviously things have got to be in by the 9th, by Monday, and I will need a little bit of time to do a proofread or add of any comments. So if we can say at the latest Friday, get any comments in, and then we can tidy it up. So it takes a similar structure to our previous reports. It just does a little in brief thing, and then it goes through the different elements of what we do and adds a little bit of plans for quarter four and lessons learned. So, in brief, did we do our planned work? And the answer overwhelmingly is no, because things have had to be moved to quarter four. The whole chunk of the RAG retrieval process has been ongoing, but at the time of writing, it's not complete. I mean, Stephen will be wrapping quite a lot of it up by the end of the quarter. And also, we had to kind of reduce it a little bit and move some to quarter four because of the need for budget fitting. The same is true of the meeting summary tool. Oh, actually, I need to add a link to the relevant issue, so I will do that. Um, oh no, I have. See here. Sorry. All right. Yeah, the same is true of the meeting summary tool, as we've just said. We did do the education about good documentation. Um, Anika and I did that really early in the quarter. And developing and sharing our thinking about open source working methods. I hope we probably will be able to do that early in quarter four, but we have had to move the pay for that to there. So yeah, to sum up, a considerable amount of the work we set out to do this quarter has needed to be pushed to Q4 in order to deal with the drop in token price. We focused our remaining Q3 budget on admin tasks that had already been done or allocated, and on as much as we possibly could on core development work. So yeah, I think that's the thing is that, we had things that little admin tasks that we'd committed to, and so we prioritized that and paying people that we'd committed to pay for things. But the knock-on effect of that is that some of the absolutely core activities of the work group ended up having to be pushed into the next quarter, which I think obviously is not ideal. Um, I think I might reword that little summary to be a little bit stronger on that. Um, okay, so I've kind of tried to say it a little bit in the stuff about the budget. I'm going to add to our quarter three budget a kind of right-hand column to show what we cut so people can get an understanding of that. And I'll show you that in a minute. But yeah, it has had a dramatic impact on what we've been able to do. And what I'm saying is that in quarter four, we will address token price instability by focusing on, number one, basic archives maintenance. We haven't been able to pay that in quarter, or we thought we weren't going to be able to pay that in quarter three at all. Now the token price has bobbed back up a little bit, I think we can do. But, it's the basic thing that the archives work group does. And it looked for a moment like we weren't going to be able to pay it. And we're also going to focus on core one-off work, because the archives maintenance is always ongoing, but some of the work on like rag retrieval process and all that is kind of one-off. It's been started and it will integrate AI functionality into the archives. So what this is going to mean is little to no quarter four funding for things such as training, outreach, community engagement, and publicity. Obviously, that's rubbish. It's really not a good situation to be in, but there is a need to prioritise our core work and aims as a work group. So, um, the quarterly report covers meetings, project management, and admin. I've linked to a relevant meeting summary, mentioned that we paused meetings during August, and that we continue to use the GitHub board, and that some of our GitHub boards have seen like more contribution from members. So that was the backlog work that links to that issue and shows that quite a lot of people were commenting. Tooling and development. Need to kind of update this because I've had Andre, you've had a chat with Ubio as well. And is this what
Yes.
you've added?
Yeah, that's what I added.
Nice. Well, I think we can make that done. Right. Yeah, all good.
Good, good. I
Um,
also updated my section there as well
oh yeah.
with
Oh yeah.
issues.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so that's quite a sort of concise explanation of the tooling and development work that's been going on, which is brilliant. Archives management. I probably will cut this a little bit, but I think there's things that I wanted to say. Yes, the summary tool has made things easier, and we've used the tool to archive the historical backlog. I've linked to the issue there where several group members worked on that. Um, we did identify a need to train people, and I've linked to the training sessions that we did, and just mentioned that we're seeing more people using the tool, and despite having to shift the bulk of the tool redesign work to quarter four, we have been able to gather some useful input informally. However, and I don't know if people are going to take issue with me about including this whole paragraph or not. I've said we've noticed an increase in uncritical reliance on Read AI amongst some newer documenters. And, honestly, this is, not just what we were saying before about governance work group doing it. A lot of people have been doing it. We note that new documenters may not have the background to know when a read AI summary is false, and they might not have the confidence to edit it. And the result has been an increase in inaccurate and verbose summaries being submitted, which have required considerable correction from the core archives team and a few other people. I mean, essay, you've been doing a fair bit of this as well. And it's time consuming, and a lot of it is unpaid. I mean, I correct meeting summaries like this all the time. It puts me behind with other work. And, you could say it's an archive, and one core principle of archiving is you archive what people give you and you don't correct it. However, what we're actually doing here is not archiving, but record keeping. And if I know a record is incorrect, I can't really let it go through. I've tried. I can't. I just have to make it right. Um, but anyway, this is obviously unsustainable long term, so it leads us to recommend that documentation for some meetings, such as governance and treasury, which cover the programme as a whole rather than the internal activities of one individual work group, should no longer be seen as an entry-level task, but should be restricted to those who've been in the ecosystem long enough to understand the background and know what's important to capture. We also intend that the redesign of the tool will guide documenters not to copy paste uncritically from Read AI. Now, I don't know if we want to say this. I'm raising it here amongst the work group as a thing, but maybe it's not appropriate for a quarterly report. I'll just whiz through the rest of it and then we can come back and see what people think. We've talked about community engagement, the good meeting summaries rewards that we did, and how the budget unfortunately needed to be reduced. Yeah, the tag taxonomy process. I'm going to update the GitHub issue, and there's several of you who are involved in working on that. And before the end of the quarter, I just need to get us all together to kind of draft our tag taxonomy. And then I've mentioned the town hall presentation about Ubio's work. If there's anything else that people can think of that we've done in the area of community engagement, please add it in. And then our plans for quarter four. We'll be focusing on the meeting summary tool. We'll be focusing on further developments of a RAG process and a pause in community outreach work while we concentrate on the above. And what I've said about lessons learned is that we did note in quarter two the value of things like knowledge sharing, training, supporting new documenters, all that. The fall in token prices clarified that these things cannot be priorities at the moment. For the immediate future, we need to place our focus on development, particularly of our RAG process, because that's what's going to secure the archive's future use of AI tooling and make it potentially useful to the wider record keeping and archives community, which could draw attention to SNet. So it just feels like we're having to tighten our belts and kind of pull our focus inwards. That's how I see it. But yeah, I want to hear from people, really. Shall I stop sharing so it's a bit more of a... Has anybody got any thoughts on this, particularly on what I've said about the archive?
About copying Read AI.
Yeah, thanks, Essie. I mean, I think I will tidy up a little bit on the comments I made about uncritical use of Read AI summaries because it's a bit long. I don't know if it really belongs in a quarterly report.
I think, yeah, it's still worth mentioning.
Yeah, mentioning,
Yeah.
maybe not writing an essay about,
Yeah.
which I've kind of done. I think I did it after I wrote that after I'd just spent 3 days just
Yeah.
correcting summaries. I just really thought, my God. Esme says in chat, I think we can ponder about it and see how the Read AI issue can be addressed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it is a bit mad, isn't it, that we are an AI ecosystem and we're kind of going, one of our biggest stumbling blocks is an AI tool. But I think it's just about this issue of not using it uncritically and recognizing the limitations of what an AI tool can be. I mean, I'm kind of thinking in terms of our AI ethics policy in the long run, we've got to think about this. We've got to think about the fact that it's an ethical issue to understand fully what the limitations of any tool are and not to expect it to do more than it can do. Yeah. I'm wondering, like, on you, Kira, have you got any thoughts?
Well, I think the from data itself, it shows that it's mostly new documenters that actually use the Read AI tool, due to the fact that I feel it's more of I won't call it upbringing, because when I said documenting, I'm just saying from my experience. So when I said documenting, we had to document without the recording, and we knew that okay, this was it. This is what is needed. The decision item, the action item, everything was well explained. But now, in other work groups, it's not that way. That's just for the onboarding work group. In other work groups, it's not that way. In other work groups, you express interest and you are given the task to do it. No proper training, no proper um, walkthrough on on what the decision is, or what an action item is. And when you come into Read AI provides action items for you. It provides I don't think it provides decisions, but I think it provides action items and some other things. So new documenters just come in and copy it directly into the tool, knowing the fact that there might be some errors in the name, in the spelling of the names. There might be some errors in the text itself. So I feel it's more of the training at first. I'm not saying that we should conduct the new training, because I feel that we actually did a training. We did the one with the onboarding work group. Onboarding work group hosted a documentation session. We had a video walkthrough. We also did a live session. So I think training wise, we've done our own part basically. So we should just try and reach out to other work groups and see if they can conduct a training for new documenters within themselves, because not all members of the ambassador program attend the archive work group meeting, or even know that we have those sessions, even if they are posted. So if that can be done within their self guilds or work groups, then I think that will help a lot. So that
Mm.
new documenter, and another thing I noticed is that most work groups don't even review the meeting summary of that particular meeting. I got to um I got to review one of the summaries from the video work group at a point. Then I had to come in and make so many corrections. But no one in the work group actually knew that there was an issue with the summary,
Yeah.
because we weren't actually looking at it. I think that's another thing that should be corrected. So
Yeah.
if anyone actually documents a summary, then that summary should be reviewed by the entire group to make sure
Mm.
to find its proper documentation, or if it's wrong documentation, because sometimes it might the text itself might not be what was actually said in the meeting.
I really
So
hear you.
that
I
should be
really,
on.
really hear you on that. And I
Yeah,
mean,
so that
the
should be.
corrections I'm making are often just, I think it's a Read AI thing. They're really disorganized summaries and they don't make sense and they jump about. But I don't even look to see if it is actually what was said in the meeting. Because, do you know what I mean? That's just a whole nother layer of thing. And yeah, you're right that that has to be something that the work group itself does. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that would be very necessary, because I'm just taking a look at the summary now, and I was present in the meeting, and I'm not impressed. I'm making corrections and corrections and corrections, and I'm wondering,
Mhm.
you that you're going to actually archive the summary, how you're going to make corrections too. So in a way, it's not. I think it should be something that we should communicate with other work groups and see how
Mm.
we reduce these errors and
Um,
get
I
a
mean,
better
what I feel,
process going forward.
what I'm thinking is what we've said in the chat, what Essay was just saying that, maybe we can design the tool to address this. I think the redesign of the tool might be able to help with some of this. And then it feels like once we've got the tool redesign, that is when we need to start going out to people, showing them how to use, and that won't be until quarter 5. Sorry, quarter 1, 2025. But
Yeah.
quarter 5, yeah, it's just going to go on to quarter 640. But one thing that I am doing, I'm just trying to make this whole issue that you're talking about visible. So if I heavily have to correct a meeting summary, I'm adding myself as one of the documenters in that field so that it's clear that there has had to be significant correction. And I suggest you do the same, Onika. Um, because otherwise, and anyone else who does significant correcting of a meeting summary,
Yeah,
because
I think
otherwise it's just hidden. And I'm thinking about your work with the good summaries stuff and Sukra as well. If you're looking at a summary and you don't know that it's had to be heavily corrected, you might think, oh, that's a really good summary. The person did really well. And actually they didn't. So yeah, add yourself as a documenter.
yeah, I wanted to chip in that. I think that would be very, very necessary.
Mm. Essie is saying in the
Because
chat, should we have a reviewers circle? I mean, maybe we should, but I just feel like I want to try and see if the tool redesign can get it to a stage where it's actually easier to do. But I am starting to feel maybe not a reviewers circle, but maybe a documenters circle. And maybe documenters should be people who I think especially for work groups like governance, and treasury, where you need a bit of an overview, you need to understand the ecosystem, otherwise you're floundering, you know. So maybe they should only be documented by people who kind of have been around a bit. Essie in the chat says, for the time being, to help everyone, it's balanced, and then that group can be dissolved. Yeah, maybe. I mean, are you thinking that a reviewer's circle would actually go back to a documenter who has not done very well, let's say, and just go, look, here is how you could improve? Yeah. Mm. I mean, I kind of do that informally with people who are open to it. And I sometimes feel like a right cow because I'm altering, I'm sort of sorting out people's meeting summaries and just going, oh, this isn't great, this isn't great. And I think it must be a bit demoralizing for people. But, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm wrong to do it at all, but I just think we can't have an archive that is full of stuff that isn't accurate. And the thing with Read AI, it doesn't know anything about the ambassador's program, so it kind of makes it up. And it's almost right. And it's only when you read it with attention that you realize it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't want that in our archive. But anyway, I think I'm going to tweak the summary, the report a little bit, so it's maybe a little bit briefer, and I will use some of the ideas that are in this chat. And we've got, let me just see what somebody's just added. Oh, it's still essay. We can also help other work groups establish a documenters circle that follows a structure, and it would also help we share a documentation and guide that can be used by all documenters. Yeah, I've been kind of thinking that would be a good idea as well. Hmm. But before we move on from the report, I just want to see what's the temperature in the room about this whole thing of, yeah, we're going to have to tighten our belts and we're going to have to focus inwards. I'm going to move to showing you the draft budget in a minute, but what's people's overall thought about that? Kind of expecting some pushback and some people saying, no, we can't just completely cut that stuff. Maybe people want to see the draft budget before they comment.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea.
All right, let me just copy the link and then I'll screen share on it. The room temperature is cold, you're right. It's bloody freezing, Clement. Yeah. All right. Right, this is a draft quarter 4 budget, so let's go and have a look at it. So, as usual, we've split it. We've got our strategic focus for quarter 4 at the top. And I'm saying that it should be developing and documenting the RAG process, maintaining the archives, I actually think, because that hasn't been enough of a focus, and redesign of the meeting summary tool. So what we've got, as usual, I've split it into regular tasks and one-off tasks. I'm thinking about maybe having the archive itself, the archive maintenance, go up from 300 to 400. And that could cover some kind of mentorship, training, support, something for new documenters. And that could be split between a few of us who do this correction work. Um, Chasing meeting summaries, essay, we might have to cut it because I don't know. I think we're just getting behind and behind with a lot of things. So I don't know if it's really functioning anymore. But you might think otherwise, and so might other people. So please do come back at me. Yeah, Ubio's work, as we've said, we're going to put a pause on that for quarter 4, and then we've got André and Stephen's development work, monthly development work, and of course the treasury stuff for managing payments. Then when we move to the one-off tasks. The meeting tool redesign was originally costed in quarter 3. We've had to move the whole amount to quarter 4. Quarterly report, as usual, $50. Educating documenters, we know it's an ongoing need, but I don't think we can be doing it in this quarter. We can't afford it. So what I'm suggesting is that we focus on the actual tool redesign, and then we educate people once that's done on the new tool. Oh, I'm seeing a couple of things in chat. It's functional. Yeah. Yeah, I know it is, but it's not really working the way it's supposed to. I don't feel, because there's so many people who are so behind on their summaries. I don't know. It's feeling like it's clunkier than it needs to be, but we'll come back to it and talk about it in a minute. Intra-work group communications, Anyika, your task of like DMing people, it just feels like it's not a priority. It feels to me, if people can't show up at a meeting without being told that it's on, I don't know. I don't know what that says. But I want to hear from people about whether it really helps you and whether it's really useful. Um, right. General Archives publicity, again, I don't think we can do any this quarter. I think we'll put like 200 towards it in quarter 1, focusing on trying to share what we're doing with the archives and record keeping world. But there's nothing to publicize at the moment. We're just trying to get some work done, and that's all there is to say. Update of the Ambassador Git book. I mean, it's important, but I don't know if we can afford. I was wondering if maybe we could push it to quarter 5. So we'd have like 400 in quarter 5 to cover updates in this quarter and next. I'm saying quarter 5 again. You know what I mean. Quarter 1. But that's like, yeah, that could be a way around it. But if people think we need to put it in this quarter, maybe we need to. Wider outreach in the rest of the ecosystem. We had this down for looking at NewNet or collaborations with LATAM Guild to kind of develop a bilingual element to the tool. We just can't afford it. Open source docs management, that's having to be deferred from quarter 3. And if there's any further work to do on it in quarter 4, we'll have to push that to quarter 1. The RAG retrieval process, I think actually, no, we won't be able to. Yeah, I was looking at the quarter 3 budget. We can put the quarter 3 budget up a little bit from what we thought, but we can't afford this. So the whole chunk has got to come over into this quarter, this coming quarter. And then we've got a big chunk of the work we planned all along, which is the data analysis and community-based stuff. So this is related to the RAG retrieval process and it depends on it being done, but it's how to query archives data. And it can't be about engaging the community at this stage. We'll have to move that idea to quarter five, quarter one. But it's about us doing it and documenting it for the community. So querying the data, the archives data, prompt design, analysing and understanding the results and reporting on how well the RAG retrieval process is actually working. Yeah, we can't afford to include education or incentives to the community to get involved in this quarter, but maybe in quarter one. And it's a big chunk because it's a big chunk of work. Bounties for good meeting summaries. I just don't think we can afford it. I don't think I've seen enough evidence that it has changed the quality of meeting summaries. I think the work that you have done to kind of pick the good summaries has been useful, but if anything, I've seen the quality of meeting summaries go down, not up. The AI ethics policy, originally we were going to have 400 for a team of 2 people. Now, this was obviously a budget that was designed when we had a high token price. So I think it's going to have to be one person and have to be less money. And I think we could just see it as an initial draft to be worked on. And maybe we have to have something to show at the end of this quarter. So we could get rid of it or we could keep it. I'm not sure. Open source policy and culture, again, that's have to be deferred from quarter three. And if we need to do any more on top in this quarter, it needs to go into quarter one. And we had a plan suggested by Peter for some liaison with the Foundation's community website. We're going to have to defer all of it to quarter one 2025. And ideas from members, yeah, those are kind of like when we're in a time of expansiveness and we can't afford it in this quarter. We can't take on any new ideas, really. And then I'm suggesting that ideally we don't want a contingency because we can't afford to take on any new ideas. So that would leave us with an overall budget of 7,300, which is definitely higher than I would like it to be. So if we can think of anything else to cut, I think we should. But yeah, there's ideas there that we've had in the past, but I think actually they can probably go because that was just a like aid memoir for other things that we might do. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to see what people think. It's not a very happy budget, is it?
So it's still too high, eh?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. There was one that mentioned it might have to move to Q1, but it's still part of that budget. Maybe
What
if it,
was that again?
that's the RAG, the big one, the 900.
Right.
Mentioned something about maybe moving to
Oh, I was
Q1.
just saying that like incentives for actually getting the community involved in trying it out for themselves. That
Oh,
needs to, we had an element for that originally, but
oh,
that's going to
okay.
need to go to quarter one.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Thoughts from anyone? OTG, go for it. If you're talking, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Oh, can't hear you, man.
G, can you hear us? Oh, Sukra, go for it.
Hi everyone. So I just wanted to talk about can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to talk about the GitHub. I know that the Gitbook, sorry. I know that the Gitbook is the link to the Gitbook is in several places where the ambassador program is being talked about. So it's like something that people go to see when they want to look at anything that happens in the ambassador program. And it needs to be updated as often as possible. You can't just leave it pending because there are some changes that could be going on in the program. And then let's say someone who comes in goes to the book and says something different. So, like the recent changes we've been having with the onboarding process, and then all those things need to change. And also, whenever we have new budgets and reports, we also update those things. So I feel like it's it's important that we keep the book updated.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, obviously, but it feels like something that maybe we can't afford. I'm wondering, is there any room, do you think, in onboarding's budget to add something for it? We could even split it between archives and onboarding, or the suggestion that I put in the actual budget itself that we move the pay into quarter 1 next year, but still do the work in quarter 4. It's not ideal. I don't know. What do you think about that, treasury wise, Andre? Is that a really bad thing to actually plan to do that?
It's it's possible, but then I mean, if then Q1 you'll have to pay for
I
Q4
know,
and Q1.
I know. The other
Yeah.
thing that occurs to me is that the other work group that updates the ambassador Git book is knowledge management. And I sort of wonder about
Oh,
maybe approaching Tevo and just going, look, can you squeeze a bit of money for this? Maybe if we split it between all of them, between us and
yeah, yeah.
onboarding and knowledge management. Um, oh, there's something in the chat. I can't unmute my mic to speak actually because of where I am, but I think chasing missing summaries shouldn't be left pending. I would suggest improving the process this task's being done because it really helps and reminds people to upload their missing summaries and also helps to know what's missing. I have to say, I'm not finding the workflow we've got very helpful. It's not helping me keep abreast of it. Um, I'm not particularly seeing people adding summaries because of being chased that they wouldn't have added otherwise. But if you're feeling that that's a mistaken perception, I know it's really awkward because you can't unmute. But are you finding that you go to people and that they say, "Oh God, yeah, I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't have reminded me." Because I'm just feeling that some people are quite behind And so chasing doesn't help. Like with governance, we know that that is something we've got to work on separately, and we know what the issues are. But it does seem that generally people are adding their summaries as soon as they can. And I don't know, we have this process, don't we, where you kind of list all of the summaries and I tick them off when I approve them. And it feels more fiddly than just adding summaries when they come in. I don't know. It's not feeling very helpful.
I wonder, this is maybe a bad suggestion. Uh, if people do summaries in Google Docs, and we have a team that feeds the Google Docs into the summary tool. Because maybe there's the people that don't do the summaries don't want to work with the tool. And so we just need to get the docs from them and feed it in ourselves, essentially.
It's a thought. Onyeka, you've got a hand up.
Yes. So, I want to speak on the publicity and the bounty for best meeting summaries. So for publicity, um, I've come across some people like today, I received two messages, one from Ekimini, and I need to check the second person that messaged me on when if there was going to be a meeting today, and so I think that reminder actually helps. I don't know for everyone, but at least I've gotten some people that actually message me frequently just to find out if meetings are going to occur. Then also for the bounty itself, one thing I've noticed is that we might be having four documenters, but one thing I've noticed is that those that have been documenting previously, like let me give three instances: Devon and Slate. Um, I'm trying to see someone else, but for Devon and Slate, at the beginning, the summaries went quite great. But going forward, I was seeing improvements in the way they actually document their meetings. I don't know if it's due to the bounty, but it might have an effect. For instance, I think in the last publication of the winners, we mentioned some honorable mentions, and I think Devon was part. And going forward, that error has been corrected in his summary. I came across two of his summaries from Gamers Guild, and it was quite nice. So those errors are actually being corrected from I won't say for those that are newly documenters, but for those that have been documenting previously, I'm seeing some kind of improvements in their summaries. And again,
You've cut off. Had you finished speaking?
can you hear me, Vani?
Yes, can hear you now.
Yep.
All right. So I said we actually had some actually good new documenters like Ines, Kateri, Esther. So I don't know. I feel the bounty, even if it's going to be for a lower allocation, it's actually kind of give members that kind of competitive spirit to present something tangible in terms of summaries.
I have to say, do you think it is worth more than maintaining the actual archive or developing the RAG retrieval process or managing open source ways of dealing with documents? Because those are what is going to have to be cut. And I'm just like, it's
Oh,
about priorities. We're not saying that we can never reinstate it. It's just for quarter four, we're on the back foot.
yeah, I think I understand what you mean. Well, I guess is something that all work groups have to do. So I
Mm.
think we should just take the ones that are more important and then maybe reassign them from Q4 for the next quarter, possibly. That's if everything
Certainly
goes
not
well.
writing it off for the future. I think it's something that is important in its own right. But I just don't want it to be about, oh, this is more important work than this work. It's more like just this is what the focus needs to be for this quarter. Sorry, Photo G, you've got a hand up. Go for it. Still can't hear you. Photo G, is there any chance you can put it in the chat? It seems like your mic isn't doing what it should, unfortunately. He's going to type. Sukra, what do you think about trying to split this across other work groups? Should we talk to Tevo?
Well, I think it might work, but then again, who's responsible for the gig book? Like,
Hmm.
is there any particular work group that is primarily responsible for maintaining the gig book?
No,
I think that would be the
it's kind of decentralized, and I think there's probably elements of archives and onboarding and knowledge management that are all part of it. I mean, if we want to try and keep it under archives, which there's an argument for doing, what do you think about the idea of like pushing it all to quarter five and paying it there, even though work gets done in quarter four? I mean, that kind of just seems like deferring the problem, but maybe token prices will be a bit more stable by then. I don't know.
well, I don't know. I think the current price for it for the quarter is 200, right?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
I mean the current price for the tax for the quarter because this is like a tax for the quarter.
Yeah, no, I know, but what I'm suggesting is that we put the price, the actual pay for it into quarter five, so we pay double in quarter five.
It's not something
Quarter
on the
one.
the budget.
You know what I mean? I mean, Photo G, you've still got a hand up. Is your mic working?
Yeah, sorry guys. I had to switch to my phone. My PC's mic, I don't know what's wrong with it.
Okay.
But my comment is not necessarily about how like the process of documenting and everything that has been said here. But it just to leave like a attitude comment. So I think the first part where Lord Kizzy was speaking about the people who are documenting and not necessarily giving the right documents. I think we should always watch the people who are actually documenting stuff because um there might be some new people who just pick up the task in documenting and probably it's their first time of documenting. We have like a newcomer here, like I think Eric Davis, who is a documenter at the marketing guild also. He documents meeting just like started his role like last week and obviously you wouldn't make it to perfection. Are you guys with me? So are you with me?
We could, yes, yes.
Yeah. So obviously he won't make it to perfection. And I think the attitude that should be given towards this kind of people is a friendly attitude that will kind of motivate them to do better instead of trying giving them an attitude that is kind of insinuating probably a lash out or something. It's everybody's underpaid here at SingularityNet. Nobody's being paid his worth, if we have to be honest. But I think at the same time, which everybody is being underpaid, everybody should be treated with in a kind way. There should be like an atom of kindness that is being given towards everyone. And with this, I think the people who are being underpaid will see like a bigger motivation to work. There wouldn't be a sense that probably we um many things going on, and the fact they are underpaying me is the reason why you are talking to me in such a manner of way or something like that. So I actually think that an attitude towards people who are actually new, someone like Eric Davis now who has just started like documenting, just started documenting, should like be given a it should be given a correcting hands, maybe by somebody who can actually do the job better. You can be given a correcting hand and a correction. I remember the first time which I documented that using the archiving tool. I met Vanya and she treated me in a way that I really loved. I really loved the way she treated me because it wasn't in a way that was trying to like despair me in what I was doing. So that's what I have to say.
Thanks for that input. I mean, I have to say that yes, everyone should be treated kindly, but that's including those who are having to spend huge amounts of their week correcting inadequate meeting summaries. Yes, mentorship is a great thing and supporting people is a great thing, but it costs money. We can't be expected to do it for free. Clement?
Hi everyone. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask if we're over the culture of having new documenters paired to already experienced documenters at meetings, because I mean, for a couple of a lot of instances in times past, for example, in the African Guild, excuse me, we've had people who come in and want and express um interest in documenting, and then we go, oh yeah, you have to have a co-documenter who is a lot more experienced in the documentation process. So I do not know if we're trying to, well, we have somehow overlooked that, because I think that would have been one of the steps to mitigating these issues of inadequate documenting. So because they both document, probably get to meet after the meeting, and then, the more experienced one gets to look at the summary from the less experienced one and makes the correction before it's been put into the tool.
I mean, yeah, obviously, and onboarding does this too, as you know. But I just feel like this is not the business of archives work group. It has to be individual work groups who decide to do that or don't decide to do that. I mean, we can certainly recommend it or suggest it, maybe in a work group sync call, which there is one tomorrow. Maybe stick it on the agenda.
Yeah, Vanny, yeah, exactly where I was driving to. Maybe
Yeah,
this could be a recommendation for other work groups to utilize, so that when it
yeah,
trickles down to the archives work group, we're not going to have so much to
yeah.
correct on our own end. Yeah.
Would you stick that on the rolling agenda for the work group sync call? Because it would be useful to bring it up.
Okay. No worries. I'll do that.
Nice one. But yeah, I think it can't be part of our thinking about our budget and our plans. Um, we need to approach it from a different angle, like via the workgroup sync call or by kind of giving recommendations or suggestions to work groups about how they might tackle it. And they might have other ways as well. Um, but yeah, Onika, go for it.
Okay. I wasn't able to catch all the Photo said, but I think I got a little. So one thing I would suggest is that, because this is what I do and it works for me. So I try to record the meeting. on from my end. So because I find that most of the times in the meeting, I usually communicate. So there might not be time for me to actually document why being in the same meeting. So if I record the meeting, then I can carefully go through the recording and document a proper meeting summary. Because sometimes if you just leave it to the end of the meeting, then you want to document, you might forget some key things that took place in the meeting, some decisions, some action items. But once you have that recording, it's like a point of reference for you. So I feel that can work. And in terms of I think he spoke on Eric Davis because I was actually correcting some errors on this documentation. So I think anywhere I see a summary where I was present in the maybe I was present in the call and I came across the missing summary, especially when it's from a new documenter. I actually take time to actually read the summary and uh, make comments so that that person can learn from those errors and present a better one going forward. But what I noticed most of the time is that the main issue there is that they can't actually recall what took place in the meeting because they had to document the summary after the meeting. So my feedback going forward is if they can record the call, then that will really help. Because if you send them the read AI notes, most people actually just copy the notes from read AI and use that as the meeting summary. But if they can record the call and listen to the recording while documenting the note and when documenting the meeting summary, that would actually help. It helps me personally. So I don't know if that's my work for him. So that's just my suggestion.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion. Thanks. I mean, I think ultimately we want to move to a point where people can document straight into the tool without having to reference a recording later. I mean, obviously, if people want to and they find it easier to do, then that's their choice. But we don't want to add unnecessary overhead. And it feels to me like kind of being the documenter in a meeting, you kind of can't take that much part in the meeting. But that's not something that we can dictate to people. It's like every work group and every meeting has to be documented its own way. But I guess there is a thing, like if you make some corrections to somebody's meeting summary, maybe there should be a process where we drop them a DM and just go, oh, I've made a few changes to your summary. Have a look at, what I've done in comparison to what you've done, and maybe it'll help you get better. I don't know. But I think, yeah, this is probably stuff that we should bring up on Thursday at the work group sync call. Clement? Is that a
Oh,
legacy
yeah.
hand, Clement? I know you're there.
You are muted, Glenn.
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I got kicked. Sorry. So I was saying that maybe we should try to look around how the nature by which meeting is facilitated can actually enhance um accurate documentation. I was looking at a particular summary. I don't want to mention, and I think Lord Kizzy did bring my notice to that when I was checking out the bounties for good meeting summaries, and people brought certain decisions. There were no rationale behind the decisions and stuff like that. So I'm just saying that maybe for every agenda item, the facilitator can get to spell out exactly what it is, or that, okay, so this is an action item, okay, that this is the rationale, or okay, that this is the decision item and stuff like that at meetings. Maybe it could somehow enhance a more accurate documentation. It's just my
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that a documenter leans on a good facilitator. Facilitators clarify when we're moving from one action item, from one agenda item to the next. They kind of flag up when a decision is being made. They do all those things which help a documenter. And I don't know always if facilitators are aware of how much a documenter leans on them, but it's something we could definitely raise.
I know I'm aware.
No, I just don't think everybody is. And when they're facilitating, I don't know if everybody is thinking about the documenter that much. So yeah, that could be something that would help as well. But yeah, I'm just looking at the time. We've got 25 minutes left and we've got to come to some kind of a decision about the budget. I'm just going to share screen on it again, if that's all right with everybody.
So you're
Um,
starting that, Bunny. You're starting that now, and it's cool.
I always do it, mate. I've been facilitating for a lot of years. So, but yeah, we do need to reach some sort of a, I mean, as Andre said before, it's already too high, I think. I don't really know what else we can move, but I don't think we can be adding stuff. And it's really not great, but I don't know. My suggestion is that we see this as a kind of one-off for this quarter, that we have to work like this because we've got things that we couldn't afford to pay for in quarter three that have had to be moved into this quarter, and that's pushing us over what we need our budget to look like for this quarter when the token price is very unstable. I mean, I can't tell you how much time it takes to wrangle the budget each time, but I'm sure you all know from other work groups that you're involved with that it is a big task. And it feels like I've had to do it 5 times in this quarter. You know, the token price goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. And I can't be doing that again in this quarter, this coming quarter. We need to have something that is like a little bit tighter and isn't gonna be a disaster. Um, I don't know. I know people, I really understand that people don't like it, but are we gonna lose all your commitment to archives work group if we pull inwards for a quarter? I mean, if anybody can make a suggestion about what we should do instead, comments are open on that budget doc. And please do make your comments. Do people need a bit of time to go away and think about it, or what?
I think Q1 next year will look slightly better because you had to move those Q3 tasks into Q4. That's why one of the reasons why we had to cut. The Q1 next year will definitely look a little better.
And I also think that the token prices will be a lot better then.
Yeah, that's hopefully.
Hopefully, we can get full migration to ASI.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Because it's not so much about token price being high or low, it's the instability.
Yeah.
You know, because we put in a Q3 budget with a very high token price, and we're like, yay, we can be really ambitious and expansive and do this and do that and do the other. And then, yeah, we had to cut it by over half. I mean, I don't know. Has anybody got a better idea in terms of what we've mapped out for um quarter four?
If the token price goes up, this is something we can maybe do. If the token price does go up in Q4, some of the stuff we moved to Q1, maybe we can pay those.
Right.
So we move them back to Q4, pay them And then we have even more space in Q1 if it does go up and we are able to do something like that.
I mean,
But that's again, that's keep constantly wrangling the budget. It's work.
I mean, what I'm just thinking is that if the token price does go up, if
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything very wrong with bringing in um work that we didn't put in our original budget. And if
Yeah.
we're going to people at the end of the quarter and going, look, um, we didn't say that we were going to do this series of education sessions about how to use the new tool, but we had extra money, so we did.
Yeah.
What about the things that were thought non-effective, as essay saying in the chat? I mean, it feels horrible to be saying that. It wasn't anything to do with the way that you did the work essay. It just doesn't feel like it was particularly helping um to organize getting meeting summaries in. I'm finding that it's more work to kind of update and tick off and check with you and see where you're at, and then you're checking with me and seeing where I'm at. And it feels like it's kind of spending a bit of time, which we could maybe n not need to spend. Maybe you see it different. I think it comes down to something that was said in an AI ethics group meeting where we were talking about yeah, a whole load of issues around budgets and money and work. And we came up with this thing about, are we sharing tasks for a good reason, or is it just to give work to people? And I don't think the way we're doing it is a very efficient way of working. It just seems to be making more work for both of us, not less. And I'm just going, should this actually be a split task or not? I don't know. Maybe when we talk about it on Thursday and tomorrow in the workgroup sync call, I'm just thinking about how it's working with governance work group where they've got budget that they haven't spent for documenting, and that's going to go to you and Onise to kind of get the summaries into the tool. Maybe all work groups need to think about that, and like if they struggle to get the documentation done. But to be honest, I can't really see anybody who is struggling to actually get it into the tool. Governance and Open Governance Work Group has had the obvious issues that we know about. And I think when we last looked at it, African Guild had a bit of a backlog, but then they caught up. But apart from that, everyone's kind of doing it as they go along, aren't they?
Yeah, I've also noticed in Treasury people are rewarding that task. So a lot of work groups are rewarding creating meeting summaries. So I think people will do it. Yeah, I don't know.
Sort of thing, maybe we could suggest don't just reward meeting summaries or documentation, but also reward a bit of mentorship for that if you want to make it a task that is available to new people.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Otherwise, if you want to keep it to people who know how to do it already, then do that. All right, essay saying in the chat, some of the checking in was because of access limitations, in my opinion. That's why we had to have shared responsibility. However, if it's not a priority, we can scrap it then. It sounds so horrible and judgy to say it's not a priority, but it kind of feels like it's not. And I wouldn't say we're scrapping it. I would say what we're doing is not doing it for a quarter. And as Andre said before, if the token price goes back up, we can maybe reinstate it. But yeah, it just feels like, we've got a bare bones budget as tight as I can get it, and it's still too much. So adding, if we add 200 for that, then we should probably add 200 for the um ambassador Git book, and add another 100 for publicity and this and that. And it just ends up that it's way over. Or here's an idea, I'm just thinking out loud. Do we put it all in, all the things that we would like to add, and then when we have to budget fit, if we have to, which I think we almost certainly will, we do it on the recognition that those things will be the first to go if we have to? Or do we just want to put in a clean budget? I'm a bit unsure about the ethics of putting in a higher budget than you really think you should, on the grounds that budget fitting will be needed.
think the I think we did mention in the last basic work group call that people need to go back and prioritize tasks so that if budget fitting happens, then they know which ones to take out. So we could do it like I suggested.
You see, I read that really differently. I heard that as saying people need to prioritize and not put in
Oh,
non-essentials in their budget in the first place,
yeah,
because we'll have to budget fit anyway.
yeah.
I think what sometimes does happen is that people put in, I don't want to say inflated budgets, because it's not quite as bad as that, but higher budgets than they really should, thinking, oh yeah, but we'll have to do some budget fitting and we can cut non-essentials. I think
Yeah.
this time round we probably should be putting in as close to what we think is fair as we can. I don't know. Because it's not exactly unethical to put in more than you think is right and just go, oh, we'll cut it if we can, if we need to. But it's not the best, is it?
Because it can also go either way, because we already know what the other tasks are. So if we can go up, then we know which to add, which ones to add.
Yeah. Mm. Okay, so the way I am seeing it is that the budget lines for updating the Ambassador Git book, chasing missing meeting summaries, and publicising our meetings and encouraging people to come, those are the three that feel like they're, I don't know, contentious or whatever. And I just don't know, policy wise, whether we should put them in and see, or whether we should not. And I don't really know who decides. I mean, I guess it's like the core team, it's Andre, Stephen, and me. Um, I think, right, we've got 10 minutes to go, and I'm gonna end the recording. And I think if there's anything people want to say that they would rather speak a bit freely about, maybe that's the best way. Right, I'm telling it to stop recording and it's not. Okay,